All right, y'all. CFBAD podcast. Colbert Jones here. And today, as week one really is here now, I'm going to be talking about the Florida Gators. All right. And this is the question I'm going to ask. And first, I'd like to say that if you guys have not seen Swamp Kings, The Untold, y'all gotta watch it. It is must see TV. It's on Netflix. Just a really great job documenting the Urban Meyer Florida Gators from '06 through '09, and what they really had going and how it's like easy to forget because it's not there anymore, right? And the one thing that I will say that the show didn't touch up upon that I'd like for it to touch up upon more is that staff is the reason why the Utah Utes are at this place right now, favored against the Florida Gators, right? Ranked when the Florida Gators are not, right? Because this is the ultimate coaching staff, in my opinion, in college football. Obviously, if you have Saban and Smart in the same staff, it's pretty hard to argue with. But Urban Meyer, Dan Mullen, and obviously Coach Witt, all three of those guys. And I get it that people in Gainesville are upset that Mullen couldn't recruit, but man, he was a great coach. And honestly, like, he's the only team to lead the Florida Gators anywhere close to where they were with Urban Meyer. So I think that Dan Mullen gets a little too much hate because, like, look, Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter, but like, would I rather have Mario Cristobal or Dan Mullen if I'm trying to win games? The answer is Dan Mullen. And my other tangent I'm gonna go on is like, if you have an X's and O's guy in right now football, it's gonna be a lot easier to succeed because I mean you have resources, especially at a team with a lot of money, like how the Florida Gators were. Um, Especially if you have a lot of resources like that, then it would be easy to get your right guys. And I think that the whole Swamp Kings, it was so legendary that I think it's going to be like good for the program in the future. Maybe some high schoolers will watch that and be like, damn, I want to go to Florida. Oops, sorry about that. And like, damn, I want to go to Florida. So, yeah, you got that. But the question I'm going to ask is, are the Florida Gators considered blue bloods or new bloods? All right. And they did not win until the 90s with Steve Spurrier, obviously. And he also won the Heisman, too. And Warfel won the Heisman, and Tebow won the Heisman, right? So they have three Heisman winners, and they have three rings. So that's pretty good. Not a lot of teams can boast that, right? And it's been pretty much like pretty recent span, and then there've been some dominant teams, some historic teams. Obviously, the Swamp Kings teams, and like the Gatorade teams, right? Um, so there's that. But what we did see at Utah is when Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen left, Whittingham sustained that program, and he's still doing it right now. Okay, Florida has not been the same since Urban Meyer left. It just is not. It's not been the same program. Part of that's they're in the SEC, so it's harder to keep it going, right? But they haven't built that. So the question that I want to pose to y'all is, would you consider the Florida Gators college football blue bloods? And I will say this, I'm not going to really pick a side on this, but here are the teams that I think everybody objectively says is a blue blood. Um, Alabama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, USC, Texas, Michigan, and Ohio State. LSU and Nebraska, I hear a lot. And then, like, obviously, Georgia is another one you want to talk about, but I would argue they're more blue blood than Florida. Because I feel like it was over a longer amount of time, even though I don't know, you could argue that the other way around, that Florida's reign of dominance was more impressive. But let's be honest, Florida and the Swamp Kings Untold really documented how important getting that undefeated season was for Tim Tebow and those guys, and how they came up short. And is that really what held them from becoming Blue Bloods? As if they did have that undefeated season and Urban Meyer stayed, man, maybe we would have a completely different conversation. But let's say even they did go undefeated in 09 and they went back to back 08, 09, like Georgia just did. They went back to back 21, 22, and the latter one was a complete undefeated season. So Georgia just one up them. I'm sorry. There's no arguing that. They don't have the Heisman in the 2000s. I don't know if Herschel Walker won. Sorry. But I'm assuming he did. But they don't have the Heismans in the 2000s. I definitely think that Brock Bowers could win, honestly. So they don't have the Heismans, but that's kind of a popularity contest. Obviously, Tim Tebow, well, it's a numbers and popularity contest. So Tim Tebow was obviously gonna win, and Spurrier too. So Georgia doesn't, well, at least under Kirby Smart, they haven't been as quarterback-driven teams. I do think that Stetson should have won last year over Caleb Williams, honestly. But I get it. So Caleb put up fantastic numbers and he did a great job on the field. But that's a side note. What would make the Florida Gators blue bloods? I don't really know because I don't know. I don't know if they're blue bloods or new bloods. But it's just very interesting to see how you can ask these what ifs about Urban Meyer and these what ifs about Pete Carroll. And if they had won, what would the landscape of college football look like? Or if they had stayed, or if there hadn't been the allegations, if Urban was in a better mental state, man, or yeah, all that. So there's that I would like to say. So that's how I would like to start with this game that we're going to talk about. Kicking off on Thursday in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Not a lot of people, I think, are giving the Gators a chance, and I am one of them. I don't think the Gators are going to win. I kind of thought they were going to win last year, too. So I'm not going to say that I'm just a Utah homer. I mean, because I'm not. Like, I was objective about it. I did not take Florida or Utah -3 when I think it was -3 last year. I did not take Utah when it was that number, even though I kind of want to support the boys, but I didn't do it, and I was right, But that was in the swamp, and that's just clearly a way harder place to play than you would imagine, especially no, everybody knows the swamp's a insanely hard place, right? Yeah, nobody wants to play in Gainesville, especially that early in the first game of the year, so. And Utah did have a chance to win, but they didn't, so I think that Utah is going to pounce them. And it is sad that we did not get to see Kyle Whittingham versus Dan Mullen because, like, when the scheduled, that's what it was going to be. And that would have been really cool to watch, because there is this brotherhood between these two teams, even though, Mullen and Meyer are gone. There's still, like, I feel like these teams are like this because Urban Meyer just went boom to boom, and it's crazy that it all started in Utah, where he really invented the spread offense, and then what Whittingham did is he really turned the team into a physicality, trenches built team, which is a la more Kirby Smart. Not to say that the Florida defense obviously was underrated. I think all the love goes to Tebow and Percy Harvin, but that defense, that's what I really learned from watching that Untold, was damn, those Gators could play some defense, man. They were scary looking, man. Scary looking defense that I would not want to go up against. So, yeah. Let me know who you got in the game. Let me know if you think that the Florida Gators are blue bloods. And let me know if there's some other teams that you think are worth the debate. Because another thing about Florida is Miami. Are they more blue bloods than Florida? Or are the Seminoles more blue blood than Florida's? And actually, here's another question is, who is the most blue blood in the state of Florida? Central Florida? No. Who is the most blue blood in the state of Florida? Because that's an interesting question now that I think about it. You could say the same thing about the runs of dominance of the other teams too. You could for sure make a documentary about anything, and I'm sure there are them, but they didn't come out recently, You saw how, like, the landscape of the GOAT debate in NBA changed completely when The Last Dance dropped. So maybe the Florida is getting a lot more buzz, and I don't know, but Florida State could come out and have a playoff appearance. I mean, they have a better team right now. They're on top of the state right now. So they're the ones where people are talking about they have ship potential, and Florida has a long way to go back. So, yep. All right, I got more coming at you this week. Week 1 is here, thank God. Oh my God. Oh, I've been waiting so long. But yes, Culver Jones signing off. Much love. Peace.